moment, 4 NCP MLAs, including Ajit, Pawar and Chhagan, Bhujbal have, in fact, there will be 4 NCP MLAs who won't be able to vote in the floor test tomorrow. Chhagan, Bhujbal and Ajit Pawar, themselves top leaders of the NCP, have only recently tested positive for COVID-19, and Nawab, Malik and Anil, Deshmukh, as you know, are currently behind bars, so they won't be able to come to the assembly as well. Remember, they weren't, in fact, given the opportunity to, in fact, vote in the Rajya Sabha by polls and also in the MLC elections as well. So we were, of course, not expecting that Nawab, Malik and Anil Deshmukh would have been able to vote in the floor test tomorrow. But now also that we know that Ajit Pawar and Chhagan Bhujbal very recently tested positive for COVID-19. They had announced so on social media. Clearly, they won't be able to, in fact, appear for the floor test as well, which basically would bring down the numbers of the NCP in the Legislative Assembly of Maharashtra to 49. NCP stands at a figure of 53 right now. We are, of course, bringing down those numbers by 4 as we speak. 49 NCP MLAs only will be available. Mosmi, if you're still with us right now, clearly it's just one setback after another for the Uddhav Thackeray camp. Okay, let's listen in to NCP leader Mahesh Tapse. Okay, Mr. Tapse is with us on the phone line right now. Mr. Tapse, the fact that the NCP obviously will be shot by 4 in the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, this is going to be a setback because it seems that nothing seems to be going the Maha Vikas Aghadi government way, Mr. Tapse.
We have seen the of Honorable Governor of Maharashtra, in which he has directed the Secretary of the Maharashtra Legislature to convene a special session on 30th, which is tomorrow. What I read and what I am hearing from the other channels is that this time is too short because some of our legislators and ministers are having COVID, and 2 ministers of the NCP, they require special permission from Honorable Court to come and cast their vote as far as the government of Maharashtra is concerned. I have just seen the statement of the dissident leader, Mr. Eknath Shinde, outside the Kamakhya temple in Assam, in which says that my entire group is still with the Shiv Sena. We are legislators of the Shiv Sena, which also makes an admission that their group has not been specially recognized as a rebel or a dissident group under the various sections of the constitution and the legislature. So till date, they remain with the Shiv Sena, which also means that the whip issued by the Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena will be binding on them. Today, legally, they cannot defy the whip which will be issued by Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena in the days to come or tomorrow whenever the floor test is going to happen. In case they abstain, in case they defy the whip, that also means that they will be calling on the disqualification upon themselves.
Mr. Tapse, what the Shiv Sena, the Eknath Shinde-led faction of the Shiv Sena is basically saying, that was in the case of the appointment of the whip as well, and also they of course appointed their own whip, Mr. Bharat Gogavle, but in the appointment of the leader of the Legislative Assembly of the party, they had said that the fact that Eknath Shinde was replaced by Mr. Ajay Chaudhary of the Shiv Sena was bad in law, because you need, if a whole bunch of MLAs, the entire legislative party, in fact elects their leader, then why is it that only 14 MLAs that were present in the Uddhav Thackeray camp decided that Eknath Shinde can't be the legislative party leader? At the end of the day, what they say is that you need 50% plus 1 of a party in order to replace the legislative party leader, and that was not the case. So they're saying this is all bad in law. They are still the legislative party of the Shiv Sena. No whip can be imposed upon them, and Eknath Shinde is the leader of the legislative party. Mr. Tapse.
Well, Paulami, if you remember that they approached the Honorable Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has maintained that the authority of the Speaker of the Legislature is final in deciding who the leader of the party will be, because it is the prerogative of the Honorable Speaker in the Legislature. And whatever direction, the decision of the Speaker also does not get challenged very easily unless it is totally outside the law, but it has never happened in the history of this country. So, Supreme Court has given various structures as far as the power of the Speaker in the legislative affairs of the state government are there. And since now what was decided by the Honorable Supreme Court, by the vacation bench of Mr. Pardiwala, it was decided that MLAs which were given show-cause notice were given less amount of time. The time for them to answer to the disqualification has been extended till 12th of July. That is the only direction which Honorable Court has given to the Maharashtra Deputy Speaker, Mr. Narhari Jilwar. It has not ruled out. It has not stayed the appointment of Ajit Chaudhary and Sunil Prabhu as the chief whip of the Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena. So that this also needs to be placed on record. Mr. Shinde and his group may say anything, but the parliamentary procedures under the provision of the constitution in this country is very clear.
Okay, what about the fact that you just said that, of course, there's not much time which has been given to you, Mr. Thackeray, in terms of this assembly session being called by the governor, because two of your MLAs, Mr. Ajit Pawar and Mr. Chhagan Bhujbal, are recovering from COVID-19, and two of your MLAs are, of course, in jail, Mr. Nawab, Malik and Anil Deshmukh. And do you want to approach the court? How are you going to, in fact, counter this? Because at the end of the day, an assembly session has been called. The Shiv Sena is, of course, indicating that they will be approaching the Supreme Court. They haven't, of course, officially said it, but sources have indicated that they will approach the Supreme Court in order to put a stop to this floor test. What about the NCP? What is going to be your position? Because, like I said, your numbers definitely, if the floor test is to happen tomorrow in the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, is definitely short by 4.
The constitution of the country provides for legislature, the executive, and the interpretation of the legislature by the judiciary. So the access to judiciary is open to all the people in the country, and specifically when legislative issues are concerned, it is taken on priority. So if at all the party feels that the legislators of our party, the legislators cannot come, they are free to oppose the judiciary and to demand that sufficient time may be given to them to recover from the corona crisis, and also the other two members who are in jail currently, they may be allowed under the various provisions of the law.
Right. Mr. Thackeray, thank you so much for speaking to India Today.